Hello, everybody. Welcome to Absolutely Obscure with Josh and Rory. I'm Rory.
I'm Josh.
And this is a podcast where we watch movies you've definitely never heard of. This episode, we are talking about Gossamer Folds. This was released in 2020. This has a 6.9 on IMDb with 136 votes, and 193 people have logged this on Letterboxd. And this is from director Lisa Donato. Now, this is the story of a 1986, a young boy moves from the city of Kansas City to the suburbs, and it's somehow less progressive than the small town Kansas City. What did you think of Gossamer Folds?
I really enjoyed Gossamer Folds. I thought it was a very sweet story. I mean,
yes,
like any sweet story, there was villains in it, so those parts were...
Yeah, unsurprisingly played by Shane West.
Shane West, classic
bad guy. Shane West. We'll go through characters here. We got Tate, who is our main character. He's like a 10-year-old boy. He's played by Jackson Robert Scott, with the worst haircut any human has ever had in their life.
Yeah.
You might recognize him. Did you recognize him?
It was bothering me. This is another one that I had to look up, and then I was like, oh, Georgie from It.
Georgie from It. Yes. Yeah. Then we also had Gossamer, of course, who is Alexandra Gray. I didn't recognize her from anything. She's done lots of TV shows.
Yeah, I saw her on a lot of TV shows, or like her IMDb, and very good.
Yes, and she is the trans neighbor of Tate, who is like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. And he's 10.
He's 10.
Yeah.
Yes. Then we also have Sprague Graydon as Tate's mom, Franny. And she's best known from the Paranormal Activity franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Shane West as Billy, his dad, who is a bigot, the biggest bigot you've ever...
awful. He's great at the role.
He's great at the role. He is great at it.
Yeah.
And then we also have Ethan Suplee as Jumbo.
Is it Jumbo or Jimbo?
Jimbo, sorry. Jimbo. I had Jumbo written down.
Yeah, Jimbo.
As great. Jimbo, as great. And I also just want to quickly apologize to Ethan Suplee because I saw these opening credits and I saw Ethan Suplee. I'm just like, oh, there's our bigot. There's the bigot.
That's so funny.
Oh, a movie about 1986 and a trans woman? Yeah, Ethan Suplee, the bigot.
That's good. That's
and he is not.
No, he was great. He was Gossamer's friend and kind of oldest friend, it seemed like.
I feel like oldest friend. It might be like one of the only friends still left from before she transitioned.
Yes.
So, and
then also her father.
Yes, her father, Edward, played by Franklin Smith, who isn't in anything.
Oh, okay.
He's been other films that we could do on this podcast, but he's never in anything else, which is a little surprising because he was quite good. And the only other person I think we should highlight is Yeardley Smith.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
That was the name. That was the one during the... Well, I mean, I saw Shane West. I actually do know Sprague Graydon as well.
Yes.
But when Yeardley Smith... It's funny because I also always The Simpsons voice people. So I was trying to be like, is that Skinner or Lisa?
Yes. Yeah. Of course, famous for playing Lisa Simpson, and this movie, and she also produced this movie.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Which makes me like Yeardley Smith a lot, actually, because this is a very sweet story. I will say it's a little simple, but very sweet.
Yeah.
So basically, we will start with Tate and his family moving from Kansas City to this small town. They have this big old house, and they look next door, and there is Gossamer and her father, and they're fighting. And that's kind of how we're introduced to all these characters. Tate is with his mom and dad. They're moving in. They're pretty happy. They seem like a happy family. And seemingly happy family. Like all American, very much like, son, let's go play catch kind of thing. And then he keeps looking over to the neighbor's house. And it's just like, what's going on over there? Yeah.
It's just Gossamer. We don't know Gossamer yet, but she's getting home early morning hours. So presumably late nights, early morning kind of thing, and And so he's kind of like, oh, and like interesting cars, interesting friends.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So like, the kid's kind of like, oh, yeah. What's up over there?
And it's like the beginning, middle of summer. It's a little confusing here because...
I think right before start, because I think he's going to start school soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the reason it's confusing is because the parents seem to have never parented a child before in their life. Because, so Franny, the mom, works at a bridal shop in the city.
Yeah.
And the dad does some sort of...
Yeah, do we ever know?
I think it's just like an office job of some sort. He goes to work. Yeah, he goes to work. And they're both just like, well, you have to take him. No, you have to take him. Just like, how have you never... heard of a babysitter before?
I assumed, and I think it got confirmed later. I think they're financially strapped.
Okay.
So I think I just assumed that they couldn't afford someone to watch. So because she's bringing him to the bridal shop.
Yes, which is owned by Yearly Smith.
Yeah.
And she's a bitch.
And not happy that this girl is bringing her daughter. Bringing her son to work every day.
Yes.
Amongst the dress, he's like playing army men in the dresses,
in the bridal dresses, in the $1,000 bridal dresses. He's just sitting in the coat rack thing and being like, ooh, boo, boo, boo.
And I think we find out pretty early one of Tate's quirks is that he carries around a dictionary.
Yes, he's a very precocious kid.
Yeah,
but I don't think in a particularly annoying way.
No, it's a thing he likes to discover things.
Yes,
so he carries around a dictionary, and anytime he hears a word that's used that he doesn't know what it is, he's immediately like and starts looking in there like, I'll just tell you what. And he's like, no, I like to look it up for myself.
Yes. And just a fair warning for anyone who might watch this movie, turns out that he might hear some words a 10-year-old might hear from his bigot father that he tries to look up in a dictionary.
Yeah, that does happen. And because I did like it is at the bridal store that we find it. He one of the girls is the patron. She finds her dress, and she's like, "I'm just so elated." And so we see him looking, and he's like elated, and then he's like reads the definition, and then there's like the antonym is depressed, and then he immediately comes out and uses both those words in a sentence to the boss.
Yes, and the boss is just like, "You're not coming back here." Please. He's not going to be back here tomorrow, is he? And Franny's like, no, of course not. The father will take him tomorrow.
Yeah. And I think there's a scene too where, like you were talking about the office job with Shane West. He's kind of like, when they're arguing about who can take Tate to work, he's like, I can't take Tate to work. And she has a line where she's like, oh yeah, you can't have the office. You can't be seeming like a family man at the office. So it's like the first hint of like, ooh,
there's something going on here. Yeah.
Little infidelity, perhaps.
Yes. Maybe the most obvious infidelity you've ever seen in a movie later on. But that was the first hint that maybe things aren't going great.
This bigot's getting a lot of girls in Kansas City, I guess.
Yes.
All right.
So back at the house, they're like that evening. Shane West looks out and he sees Gossamer and he starts kind of going off, being like, you didn't
look who lived in this neighborhood. You didn't see that our neighbor were slurs and awful things.
So many slurs.
Yeah. And she's also, it's one of those sad situations where like she's not a bad person, but because she's been living with a bad person for so long, she kind of just accepts this as like, this is how people think. And this is, so therefore I will.
Yeah. Franny.
I'm not going to fight that he thinks this way.
Yeah, Franny is pretty desperate. Not desperate, but like wants to keep the family together.
Exactly, yeah.
Very much. And she's kind of like willing to go along with a lot of things.
And like, I'm guessing, hoping that he'll change and be a good man or whatever.
Yeah.
He like, says that like, oh, I can't believe we're living beside John Wayne Gacy, and it's like, Jesus, man, like,
no, it's it's 1986, so it does like work.
Totally,
absolutely, and like, he tells Tate, don't go next door, don't interact with them at all,
don't be stay away from that deviant across the driveway,
And Tate looks up deviant in his little dictionary. He's like, oh, I want to go with the deviants. We cut to a little later on, or the next day or something, and an elder woman comes up to the house and is just like, Tate's outside playing, and she has like a dish, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna introduce myself.
Right? Yeah.
Do you like tuna casserole? And he's like, no.
I think I have.
Gross.
It's so funny. I can't remember what he calls it, but he's like, yeah, it is disgusting. And she's like, are your parents home? Yeah, whatever. So funny. Like, who asked a 10-year-old if they like tuna casserole? Like,
yeah.
That was awesome.
And then while they're outside, is this when this happens? Sorry.
I think we also meet her Gossamer's friend, I think, briefly too. Like one of
yes.
I didn't catch her name.
It never said. She doesn't really
she
come
comes
up
by 2 or 3 times. And kind of, and we're also introduced to the fact that Gossamer like makes outfits. And
yes. So Gossamer is a fashion designer.
Yeah. And I think it's hinted that she does drag or is in the drag scene or any sort of costume scene, right?
I think she like works with drag performers in the local scene.
So
kind
this
of stuff.
girl is like getting or giving her the whatever. Here's what I want made for me, please, and thank you. And then she happens to, like you said, it's 1980s Kansas City. She mentions like, our poor friend got jumped by like 3 or 4 guys.
Yes,
she's never gonna look the same, kind of thing. So once again, very good plot stuff we're running into on these movies. But.
And during like while we're getting to know the one family, we also get to know Gossamer and her dad. Her dad still calls her by her birth name.
George.
Yes.
And you kind of see that it's beginning, like probably this has been her whole life, right?
Yes.
Or like I think they mentioned 7 years.
Yeah.
At some point in the film, but always just called her George.
And so does Jimbo.
Yes.
Played by Ethan Suplee, who.
I think his is not this. He's maybe, just like, kind of innocently like he's not the smartest guy.
No. I think he's pretty like happy-go-lucky kind of just like I wasn't sure because he eventually at some point goes and lives with them after himself getting beat up.
Yeah.
And it made me wonder, is he gay?
I thought so too.
I thought that might be how they maybe became friends, or maybe just why they're still friends.
They still stuck together.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Is why they like look out for each other.
Yeah, it's never explicitly said or anything, but
because I think it said that to Tate that it was like a bike accident or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I very much got the
sense that that's what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, Gossamer and her father, he always calls her by George, and it feels like there's tension there, but I think that Gossamer is kind of like letting it go by because she's just like, he's trying.
It's one of those parent situations where he would never kick her out.
Yes,
because she's his kid.
Yeah.
But yes, just can't get over the fact that like, oh, but you're George.
Yes.
And just kind of can't see past that. And and also kind of, you can tell, like, wonders if it was something he's done or, just isn't quite accepting
doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And also looks down on her career, like doesn't think that making outfits for performers is like a full-time job. Like she has the beads down because she's with clients and stuff, and he kind of just bursts in being like, hey, what's going on in here? And she's like, I've told you so many times, like, beads down mean I'm working. Please respect that kind of thing.
And I also feel like he is judging her for going out all the time.
Yes.
And
like also stated later that like Gossamer's not a party girl. Like she just goes out. That's her job. That's her nightlife kind of thing. And and also worried about what potentially could happen with all these.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he is loving and he's trying, but he's not to the point that he should be.
Yeah, exactly.
But while they're getting to know each other, is this when? Basically, Shane West the next day is like, "No, I'm not taking him to my work.
Yeah,
fuck this kid." No, he plays catch with the son for a little bit. We see that, and then the next day he's like, "No, I can't take the kid to work." So Franny decides, "Okay, I guess I'll go again." And she calls work, and Yeardley Smith is just like, "No."
Oh yeah, she calls her before she even leaves the house, and it's like, "Do not bring that kid to work today."
And she's like, "I guess I can't come to work today. I'll have to stay at home and watch the kid." So Tate goes out to play by himself, kind of thing,
like skateboarding around,
and he meets Gossamer.
Gossamer's, she's gardening. In the front.
Because this entire time she has been like noting them,
and noticing that he's also really interested in whatever.
Yeah, and just generally noticing that they haven't come over to say hi or anything.
Right.
They haven't reached out
themselves at all. Yeah.
So she this is kind of like a platonic meet cute, basically, where she kind of like, oh, what are you up to? And he's like, I'm skateboarding, and she takes a skateboard and shows
him how to use it. Yeah, it's pretty great.
It's pretty great.
And he's like, he's kind of. Does he say stuff like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be around"? Like,
I don't think so. He doesn't really say. I don't think he really ever really says.
He says something about not being around
deviants. This is when he says that.
Yeah,
yes,
that's the only time.
And she kind of goes, "I know this family."
Yeah, and it's exactly. She's seen it a million times, right? This is a dad instilling his views upon his child, basically, right? But also, it's like, I can get this kid's curious enough where. I don't think it's him, right?
Yeah, no, he's definitely. She definitely is like, okay, I understand. And then she also tells him her name, Gossamer, and she's like, look that up in the dictionary, and he does. And I can't.
It was something about seeing light through a thin veil, like something like that. And I think she's also. I think there's we find out or she alludes that her mother passed away.
Yes,
it was something her mom used to say. I think, and then because. I think she says something about what does Tate mean.
Yes.
And he's like...
I've tried to look it up. It's not in the dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, which we'll get back to. But, so basically, they have like a not quick, but like a nice little meeting kind of thing. And then Franny sees outside the window what's happening. And she's like, oh, I can't have this. And she's like, come on in.
And doesn't really introduce herself or just kind of is like, we have to leave.
We have to leave right away. Mm-hmm. And Gossamer's just like, I'll fucking get you. You're going to be my fucking friends.
And then, cut to Shane West's home now, fighting with Franny about, I can't believe you weren't watching him, and he ended up over there or whatever. And that's when I think she drops the bomb, like, oh, I can't believe you cheated on me.
Yes.
It's like, God damn it.
Oh, wait, no.
It was like, so we find out the reason they moved.
Yes, but So I think that this is because we find out he cheated specifically when he is supposed to be watching the son, and he's on the phone inside with the woman he cheated on with.
Geez. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, because it's the most obvious infidelity, being like, Tate, go out and play, kind of thing. I'll be out to play catch soon. And he's calling the woman he had cheated with, and then Franny gets home. And discovers that.
Yeah, they both at different points leave him to watch himself.
They don't watch him very much at all. Like at various points, like after this fight, they're like, go upstairs. And then he just goes outside again. They never are watching
the neighbors very much watch this kid more than the parents in this movie.
Yeah. So we might be mixing up like when they're getting into these various fights about, you weren't watching him. You weren't watching him. But basically... Yeah, Shane West does find out that happened, and then she finds out, oh, you also weren't watching him at some point. Mm-hmm. And then while they're fighting, Tate goes outside and meets up with Edward, the father, in the back.
He offered them some corn earlier. And
he offered them sweet corn.
She was like, no, because this is when she was trying to get out of there. And he was like, oh, is the offer still stand? And he's kind of like, what offer? And he's like, the corn? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Shuck some of these and get some corn in you.
You shucked much corn, Josh?
Not anymore. My shucking days are behind me.
I shucked so much corn as a kid.
Did you? No, I have never shucked corn.
It's a pain in the fucking ass.
It doesn't seem like it'd be good.
Yeah, but I mean, then you get corn.
I think I bought one chef's plate once where the corn came with the thing. I was like, what? Excuse me? I have to shut the
fuck is this?
Not happy.
But yeah, basically he sits down with Edward and he has like a nice conversation and he asks him like, oh, are you divorced? Oh, yes. He asks Edward, are you divorced? And this is when he's just like, no, I'm a widower. Do you know what that means? And Tate's like, yeah.
He has a dictionary, he knows.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe it's been 7 years since the wife has died. And the wife's mom has died.
That could be, yeah.
And Gossamer did. I think the mother was very accepting of Gossamer.
Yes, she accepted her. That's okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So Edward just kind of is like, he overhears the fight. He's just like, I understand why you're asking me about divorce. It's
and then it's like the next day, like the dad's gone, right? Oh, we actually hear him peel out of the driveway.
Yes.
During this, him talking to Edward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's just gone.
He's gone.
And I don't know. It's Franny has to. So now Franny has to be like get the neighbors to watch. Like,
yes,
he's already got this relationship. Hey, I don't have any other options. Would you mind looking after Tate? And they're like, sure. Yeah. And again, she's still kind of only talking to Edward.
Yes, she
Gossamer
refuses to talk to Gossamer, but Gossamer's like putting herself in there, being like, "Oh, we can watch after him," kind of thing.
And then I did think there was one funny line where like the Edward was like, "I won't let them paint his nails. Don't worry." Oh, and she's like, "Okay." Cut to immediately them painting his nails.
Yeah. There was one scene that I did want to point out here, which is the casserole lady comes back.
Oh my god!
This was a great scene for me because I'm just like, the casserole lady is a good lady.
She was nice.
She's a good person.
She comes over and she uses the correct pronouns and calls Gossamer.
Yeah. And she had bought a dress from Gossamer, bought some piece of.
She gave him some extra. She gave Edward some extra I don't know.
Linens
accoutrement. I don't know what goes on
some
garments.
Towels.
Whatever you sew onto a dress. Buttons.
What do you make dresses from? A hat. But yeah, the entire time she's using the proper pronouns. She's calling her Gossamer, and at the end of that, Edward's just like she has like bags of groceries or something too. Yeah. And Edward's like, "Oh, do you need help with that?" And she's like, no, I'm good.
You don't recognize a strong woman when you see one, do you?
Yeah. A little saccharine, but kind of like, that's nice.
Yeah, totally.
It was also redeeming with casserole lady because let's be honest, she was like an old white lady.
I 1,000% was like, she's just as racist as this family. Not at all. Loved it.
Yeah. That is the last we see of her, I'm pretty sure. So
she does get mentioned later.
Yes, she does get mentioned later. But yes, so now Tate is being watched by Gossamer and Edward. They have
and Jimbo's pretty much over there.
And Jimbo's over there now. Yes, he lives there now.
Yeah, and I do. Tuna Casserole comes by and we find out she's accepting.
Yeah, I love it. I had Tuna Casserole lady is actually good? Question mark.
Still, she might turn by the end of the movie.
You never know.
And then we also see, this is the point we see Tate is looking up, like you said, the words that his dad is using to describe Gossamer and finding them not in the dictionary.
Yeah. And while he's getting watched by Edward and them, he goes to Edward's study, and we find out Edward was like a writer.
Yeah.
Which was very nice.
And he's currently trying to get a collection of his short stories together for publishing.
And that's when we find out Tate has been trying to find these words in the dictionary because he tries to sneakily fit them in conversation, being like, "Oh, is that what this word means?"
Yeah.
And Edward kind of looks at him, he's just like, nah, it's okay. I think he gives him a fake definition of one of the words.
That could be, yeah.
Yes.
I did like also Gossamer walks by and it's like, "Hey Tate, did he show you the dictionary?" And he's like, "What?" And he's got this giant dictionary and he's like, they're both like looking through this thing and Gossamer's like, "Nerds." So awesome.
Yeah. Now we cut to Franny is at work and she's getting fired for the biggest fuck up I've heard in a long time.
She also before this is on the phone.
Right. Yes.
She's on the phone and yelling with Billy,
yelling at her husband, being like, "You're fucking leaving us. Yeah. You're leaving us. You're too much of a coward."
Yeah, just say it. And also like, "Oh, he's got his mistress pregnant." And just say it. Now that you've told me, find a way to tell your son. Yeah. Yeah. Yeardley Smith comes in and it's like, "Hey, by the way, that dress that was $1,300, you rang in as $130. And it's not the first time you've done this."
Just like, how did nobody pick that up before? Imagine you were getting charged for something that's $1,000 and it's $100. I mean, admittedly, would you say something? That's hard to say.
Oh boy, no! I'd probably make them come after me for it. But
but the other thing is just like, it's your wedding dress. This is the last time you're going to talk to these people.
Right, yeah. No, because I was also thinking the other way because it'd be funny if they tried to charge me $1,300 because I'd be like, "Guess what? I don't have that kind of money.
Not gonna happen." One time I had to pay Sasktel, which is like the
only me and you know.
Yeah. Which is like a, what's it called? A
telephone company?
Telephone company.
Mobile
yes.
telephone service.
I was supposed to pay them $1,400. And I was like, that's all the money I have. But I was scared because I was 22 and I showed up to bitch like, I'm supposed to pay this. And they're just like, oh no, this was $14.
That's amazing. The only time I've ever been double charged for something on my credit card was like the largest payment I ever made at Best Buy.
Oh my God.
I was petrified. I called it. I was like, please don't charge me this much money.
Yeah, if you cry over the phone, they'll reduce it sometimes.
I had to wait a couple of days, but I got it back.
That's good. So, Franny comes home, and she just got fired.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, Mom's home a little early. That's strange. And she just kind of goes inside. She calls Tate over. She doesn't really say thank you or anything. And they go inside, and she tells him, and she's like, oh, where's Dad? Where's Dad? And she's like, Dad's not coming back.
Yeah.
And he takes the glove, the baseball glove,
yes,
and he runs out into the front lawn in the middle of the day.
And just pisses on it.
Pisses all over it.
I fucking love that move. That's so great.
And Gossamer standing there being like, you okay, bud? What's up?
So funny. Yeah, they just heard him yelling, obviously, at the top of his lungs because also the dad called, right?
Yes.
And yeah. So he just screamed on the phone.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, the dad was on
I
the phone.
don't want to be a big brother.
Big brother, yes. And then, pisses on the glove. And then they invite him over, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that...
Or no, he just kind of lies down on the ground.
Right, he lies down on the ground, and it cuts to the next day, and the mom is just lying in bed.
She's like bedridden, yeah.
Yes.
It's distraught, you know. Her husband up and left and got a girl pregnant, and
she got fired.
Yes,
on the same day.
Yeah.
So
minutes after each other.
Yeah, kind of a rough one, I gotta say. And Tate comes in, and he's like, Mom, get up. You have to go to work. She's like, I'm not going to work. Go away.
There's also I do like there's also like a little scene next door with Gossamer and Edward, and Gossamer's like, if I had to guess, that dad cheated on that.
Yeah.
And like he's definitely cheating and has a family and just calls exactly what the situation is.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
And I think it's Edward later's talking to Tate, and he confirms that that's what's happening. And you see Gossamer inside, like putting on makeup and stuff. And this is where we find out, like you were saying with Jimbo, how he, or I guess I don't know if we mentioned this with Jimbo, like that he also still.
Yes, we did mention that.
Has a tendency to say George and stuff. Yeah. And she finally is like, hey, it's been this long. Like, when the fuck are you going to call me Gossamer? And he's like, oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. Like, yes, I will make sure you do that from now on.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yes. Now it's here. My next note here is not much happening.
No,
it kind of runs out of steam here a little bit. I feel in that like now the father is left and they're friends with Gossamer and stuff.
Yeah.
Tate still doesn't know really what's going on with Gossamer.
Right.
Doesn't know that she's trans. Doesn't know what trans is.
It's more like the mom at this point is like, hey, that big gets out of my life. I'm going to go make an effort with these neighbors.
Yes.
And like she comes over and it's like, hey, this is way overdue. Why don't we have dinner together?
Yes.
Right. And they're like, we would love that.
Yeah. They come over, cut to after the dinner, them talking about how much they all fucking hate that casserole.
So funny. They're just saying how gross it was. They all threw it out. And the only thing I like more than that is Jimbo's like, I liked it.
Yes. That was fun. That was great.
Was good. Yeah, they all bond, and it's 10:30, so they're like, we have to get going, or Tate, you got to go to bed. And he's like, I don't want to. And then Edward's like, nah, we should go too. It's very
Can
nice.
Gossamer tuck me in?
Oh, yeah. Very sweet.
Yes. And then we cut to, is it the next day or it's the next
with
day.
Tate and his mom? Or
no, with Shane West, Billy, the dad, comes back.
Oh, yeah. There was a scene, I think, is the next day where, so now, she's kind of changed a little bit, the mom, Franny, and coming around to be her own woman. And so Tate's asking her now,
what these words
mean. What do these words mean?
Yeah.
And the mom's like, these are
bad
cruel words that no one should say to someone. And he kind of is like, okay. Like, yeah, great. And she explains, like, this is a word that some people use that against people that like someone of the same gender or whatever. And he's kind of like, oh, like big deal. So if a boy like wanted to kiss a boy, and she's like, yeah, and he's like, okay,
yeah.
Like,
it makes me. I wonder if it's kind of implying that Tate is gay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which it could go that way. I don't think it pushes it far
I think
enough.
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. Yeah. I think maybe it would have been a little bit almost too sickly sweet to be like, oh, and he's also a little gay kid figuring out himself.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it was
I think it's just he'll discover it in the future kind of thing.
Exactly. And so you said like Billy shows up. And we see kind of the one thing that's like maybe it's still a little bad. It's like there's dishes everywhere. So he sees like, oh, people were over here, right?
Yes,
like
dishes are all over the place. He comes in, he's calling Franny Tate, and they're just like, he's like, I haven't seen you guys in 2 weeks. And I'm just like, yeah, whose fucking fault is that?
Yeah,
Shane West.
He sees her and she's immediately like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
like, I don't want to see you.
Go the fuck away.
Yeah, and he does leave, but sadly, as he goes outside.
Yeah, well, he's like, no, I want to see my son.
Right,
Let me see my son. And she's like, get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. So he goes outside and he sees Tate coming out of Gossamer's house.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
He goes over. And
Edward's trying to like go over with, because he's basically like, hey, Tate, we're going to the ball game and we're going to go hang out all day. And Tate's kind of like,
Yeah, Tate does not want to go with his dad.
And Edward's also like, that sounds great. Mm-hmm. Let's go confirm with
yes, I'm
Franny.
not letting Tate go anywhere with you unless Franny says.
Yeah, and Tate and Billy's very upset, like basically telling him like,
who the fuck are you?
Yeah. And then
Gossamer steps in,
which is awesome.
Like, yeah, I'm willing to go into this fight kind of thing. Yeah. And they're about to not really come to blows, but they're starting to get loud, yell at each other. Mm-hmm. And Franny comes out and just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, told him a million times, like, don't want you here. And I don't know, it's fuck Billy. You know? He's just the worst. And because Tate finally says he runs over to Franny and it's like, I don't want to go, and she's like, well, then that's all that matters, right?
That's
like,
all that
you
matters.
don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now at this point, I think Gossamer and her dad have a final kind of confrontation a little bit, being like, you don't understand how hard this is. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what the exact pinnacle of that, like what the point was.
I think it was
that
just
made her
like kept calling her. Oh, I think also maybe the brother called. So we do find out Edward has two others, like another son and a daughter.
Yes,
and the son calls, and basically they don't talk to Gossamer
at all,
and like, or like acknowledge that she exists. Yeah, and like so.
Yeah, because she says they call to talk to my dad.
Yeah, exactly. And then so she's basically like, oh, hey, your son called, and by the way, tell him I'm doing great. Like, so didn't even ask how you are or whatever. Yeah, I think that's kind of maybe what
that's a little bit of it. Yeah. So so they have a bit of a fight, a bit of a blow up, and then she goes and visits the friend who got jumped earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
It's just a very quick scene at the hospital. I don't think there's a dialogue.
No, it's like they just go, you literally see Gossamer seeing her for the first time, and kind of you see it setting in on her face, like, oh man, I gotta get out of this town.
I gotta get out of this town. And she drives home. She parks in front of their house. She breaks down.
Full breakdown.
And then we never see Gossamer again.
Yeah.
I was kind of sad.
Yeah, me too. Like, because so you get the next morning now. Edward, like the house is empty except for Edward.
Yeah,
he's out on the porch, like kind of looking around. So the car is gone.
Yes,
right. But some Gossamer's shoes are still there. So like, very much like what happened.
Yes,
yeah.
He then drives into the city. Yeah, and he kind of
doesn't really know where to go. So he's kind of going to where like he assumes gay people might hang out, or like, you know, like the kind of what his idea of maybe what Gossamer's been going through. Like he doesn't, and then like, you know, kind of abandons pretty quickly, and
and like people are like looking at him, being like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Who
kind
are
of
you?
thing.
Yeah.
And then he goes home and he calls the police and he reports Gossamer missing.
Yeah.
And the police show up, and he keeps being like, my son is missing. Yeah, my son is missing, and they're just like,
has a picture of Gossamer, so they're kind of like. Very unhelpful, very 1980s police. Yeah. Like, don't give a shit.
Well, the 1980s police don't care about missing trans people?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then like so Tate sees that the cops are over there.
Yes.
Runs over and's kind of like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, Gossamer's missing. I'd love to talk to you, but I gotta finish talking to the police, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's immediately like to his mom, like, we gotta go find her. And she's kind of like, oh, the cops will take care of it. I'm sure. Help. As a white woman, I'm sure the cops are gonna be very helpful in this situation. Yeah. And I think, is it that that night Tate has a dream of, there was a couple scenes, maybe at least one where
they were catching fireflies.
Yeah, very sweet scene.
Yeah, just sweet, like kind of montagey.
Yeah. And so we see Tate's having a dream where it's Gossamer, and she's lit up by all these firelights, and she has a dress that has like lightning bugs like attached to it. And she takes one off. It's very sweet.
Gives it to him. She did also give him like a button to remember her by when she when she first watched him at the house, kind of thing. Being like, "This is my bun." She showed him like dresses and stuff, kind of thing. During this time too, we also see somewhat during a montage. I just have here, they cut the Jimbo scene because we see Tate walking onto the deck and Jimbo is sitting there and he sits next to Jimbo, but they don't talk. It just cuts away immediately. I don't know if you even picked up on it, where
totally missed it.
It seemed like something that was filmed, but then they were just used it for that. I'm kind of like, oh no,
that's too bad.
Yeah.
And then so I think it's just Edward and Franny. They're talking and kind of parent to parent.
Yes.
And so Tate's not around, and Edward kind of he's like, starts off being like, oh, my son's gone. I can't believe. I just hope he's okay. Poor George.
Yeah.
And it's during this speech that he kind of realizes like, I've never even called her by her name that she wants me to. Finally says like my daughter. Finally says Gossamer. Like, very sweet moment. I full on like started tearing up at this point in the movie. Really good.
And we're both crying.
I didn't think it would happen again. It was really good.
It was very sweet.
Yeah, it was really good. And then Tate and Edward, they're like sitting outside. I think it kind of jumps a little bit ahead.
It jumps a little bit ahead, and they're sitting outside, and Edward's just like, I don't know if I'm going to hear from her again.
I don't know if we'll see her again.
We'll see her again. Yeah. But I did get this in the mail for you.
Yeah.
And it's a letter from New York City, I believe. And it's to him.
Yeah, to Tate.
Yeah. And did you write down exactly what it said?
I wish I did. I'm so sad. It was so what happened was it was a dictionary page on the T page.
Yeah.
And then so in between where Tate would be in the dictionary, she alphabetically she pointed it up, and then it said Tate. It was something like to the effect of like, a sweet kid came into my life and like
bit of a pain of the ass,
which something about being scrawny, but like changed my life forever.
Yeah.
And then the second definition said, you define yourself.
Yes.
And then it was like fade to black.
End of movie.
Oh, I cried a second time at that. I fucking love the end of this movie. It was so good.
So sweet.
Yeah.
It made like, because whenever you see a young kid in the movie and they're a little bit too smart, or they have that thing where they're reading dictionaries, I worry that it's just like, this is going to get really annoying really fast. But this paid off so well.
Yeah, I did not see this I didn't think the line about seeing your name in the dictionary would have like a huge.
I didn't even think it would pay off.
No, I thought it was a throwaway line.
Yes.
Yeah, it was so good.
Question for you though. What the fuck does Gossamer Folds mean?
I swear to God, and maybe this is coming off of making doing American Fork.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's another town name. I don't know. I have no idea.
I have no idea. Like, because I'm like, in the back of my mind, I thought it was a town originally, and then find out, oh, her name is Gossamer. Yeah. It's like, is it because she works with clothing? Like, is that?
I don't know. I literally don't know. I held on to the town name the whole time.
Yeah.
And thought maybe she named herself after the town.
Maybe. And also one other thing I don't like, not about the movie, but I don't know if you saw the poster for this movie about a black trans woman, but no black characters on this poster. I legitimately was like so worried that this was going to be like a hyper Christian movie, because it's the whitest poster you will ever see. It's just 6 smiling white faces with like glowing light behind them. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Been terrible. Oh man. not looking for the day where me and you rip apart a Christian movie.
It's gonna come. There's so many fucking Christian movies. But this was not a Christian movie. Did you have what were you gonna say?
Oh, I had a line that I missed in the joy of the scene, but the dinner scene. There was a funny line. I think it was Gossamer went up to tuck in Tate.
Yes,
and so Franny is like, oh. What did she say? She's like, we needed this, and Edward's like, we so did, or so did I, and then Jim was like, so did I. I just love that he's always there cutting the tension. Very fun.
Yeah, I wish we had a bit more Jimbo.
Yeah,
mostly because Ethan Suplee, I always love seeing him.
He's great.
He's great.
Yeah,
I do like that it was just him and Yeardley Smith basically lending their name to this small movie.
Yeah, totally.
I think this is a recommend for me for sure.
Big time for me. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want our letterbox rating
I would
to be?
give it a 4.5.
I was going to go with a 4. My only like hangups are like I feel like Gossamer's maybe like a little too perfect in that you never really she's like always right about everything kind of thing where I'm kind of like it's a little silly and like it's a little saccharine sweet for me.
I get that. I like a flawed character, so I see what you mean there. Yeah, I'd be willing to go down to a 4. I think that's a good score.
I think that's a good score, and I think it's a good movie. I think people should see it.
Yeah, I would say like more than our other whatever. Up right under American Fork.
Right under American Fork.
I would say absolutely see this movie. It's very good. It's I think this is the kind of movie that can show people who are like have bad opinions or whatever or like there's this is the kind of story that I think needs to be told.
This is a story that I think like if you are 12 or 13-year-old, if you have a 12 or 13-year-old life, I think this is a good movie to show them, definitely.
100%.
It reminds me of like stories I read when I was like around that age that made me think more about the world.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Really happy we got another good one.
It's great to get a good one.
It is.
Speaking of which...
Yeah, bring on the Christian garbage.
Okay, so we got 5 movie titles for you to choose from here.
How many are you excited for, Rory?
1.
I'll try and do you proud here.
Okay, so your first option is Bigfoot or Bust. Bigfoot or Bust. Then we got God's Club.
Oh no. Oh, right on cue.
Right on cue. We got The Wild Stallion.
Okay.
Then we got The Girl Who Invented Kissing. And finally, Shadow of the Monarch.
Okay. Bigfoot or Bust.
Yep.
Something about God that I'm probably not going to pick.
God's Club.
Okay. Shadow of the Monarch.
Shadow of the Monarch. The Girl Who Invented Kissing.
Okay.
And The Wild Stallion.
The Wild Stallion. Okay, I think for some reason I've heard of The Girl Who Invented Kissing, so I'm gonna pick that for one of them.
Okay, The Girl Who Invented Kissing. This has a 6.2 on IMDb with 794 votes and 367 people have rated on Letterboxd. This movie is the story of a nameless pill-popping drifter girl who steps off a bus and into a neighborhood bar owned by 2 middle-aged brothers.
Okay,
that's it. That's all they had.
More drug-fueled antics. Great. Yes. I'm sure there won't be any tragedy in that.
Oh, yeah, no.
And, all right, here, okay, all right. Bigfoot or Bust. Shadow of the Monarch. What was the other one? I keep forgetting.
So, it's Bigfoot or Bust, God's Club, The Wild Stallion, and Shadow of the Monarch.
I don't know why I'm curious what the Shadow of the Monarch is.
I am curious what the Shadow of the Monarch is, too. Shadow of the Monarch has 7.0 on IMDb.
Holy smokes.
With 43 votes. And 6 people have rated this on Letterboxd.
Is that our lowest ever?
This is definitely our lowest ever.
6 people.
6 people.
Holy fuck. Not even 6. How many people? There had to have been hundreds of people that worked on. Maybe not, but 6 people.
6 people.
Oh my God. People worked on this movie and then never spoke about it again. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, Shadow of the Monarch A seemingly homeless man who catches butterflies in the park witnesses a gangland shooting. He's dragged off into a tunnel to be killed. Passes out only to awaken to a bloody nightmare. The cops rule it as a drug deal gone bad, releasing the Butterfly Man. Soon, the CIA is on their doorsteps, looking for the rogue, psychopathic agent who disappeared 15 years ago, and the only person who has possibly seen him is the Butterfly Man.
I'm fucking pumped for the I want to see this movie.
Shadow of the Monarch. We're going to be 7 and 8, buddy.
Hey, you know what? That high rating from those 40 people, I trust it. I'm going to say it right
We'll trust it, yeah. All right, well, those are the 2 movies you guys can look forward to next time. If you guys like this show, please share it around. You can go ahead and follow us on all social medias at Absolute Obscure Podcast on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all of the places. You can also follow us on YouTube. You can also email us if you have a comments about the show, have any recommendations for us at absoluteobscurepodcast@gmail.com.
That's right.
You can follow us individually.
Yeah, Instagram, I'm Real Funny Josh.
I'm the True Rory. Thank you to our producer, Aaron Campbell, the handsomest man in this room.
Aaron B. Campbell. Male on his driver license, I just found out.
Yes, just found out. And thank you to him. Thank you to Matt Prince for our theme music. And thank you guys for listening and watching. Take care.